Hello and welcome to this Eyes of Harmony podcast. I'm Nick, that's Comrade, the other one, whichever side is on. Who knows how it split screens this Skype thing these days. But yeah, on this podcast we talk about classic Doctor Who, new Doctor Who, and any news that's happening. And obviously at the minute, not much news. They're not giving us anything. It's so dead.
Are there even any more leaks? So.
Not even leaks. Not any. God damn it. Leak something, BBC. I mean,
let's talk about some spicy rumors.
Some spicy rumors. Yeah, I mean, God, what's his name? Richard Armitage is playing Rassilon in the new Big Finish, which is a freaking awesome casting. I'm kind of gutted that he's kind of doing it just in audio. Like, I would love to see Richard
Armitage. He's
Armitage.
really good with audio. Like, he played Trevor Belmont in Castlevania as well, and he's exceptionally good in that. So.
Oh, I'm sure he'll be amazing, but I'd love to see him on screen. Like, I think he'd be so awesome as a Rassilon. I mean, he was amazing as was it Guy in Robin Hood, that series for ages on BBC? He was definitely in BBC. That was kind of like the first thing that I knew him from, and then he did kind of period pieces and so on. Then obviously The Hobbit was a big one for him, which he was awesome in that. Even though The Hobbit wasn't so good, he was probably a very good highlight for that. Richard Armitage, he's just awesome. So yeah, I mean that's freaking epic that he's going to be playing Rassilon.
I'd like to see him on screen. Although, I don't think they take like an actor from Big Finish and then put it into the TV show. It happens one way, kind of. Yeah,
it's kind of frustrating because it's also like it's during the Time War as well, so it's even less likely because there's been other Rassilons since.
It's a pre-Dalton Rassilon.
So yeah, I mean, who knows? There's time travel, but what stellar casting! What stellar casting that is!
Indeed.
But so that's very epic. Is there much about the story that he's going to appear in, or is it just more that he's just playing?
All I've seen is that he's just in it. I haven't actually, to be fair, I haven't looked into it too deeply.
Okay. Well, okay, so kind of the obituary part. So kind of two people died recently who were in Doctor Who. We had Lewis Mahoney, who played he played three characters over his time in Doctor Who, but the most notably for New Who fans was he played Old Billy in Blink, but he also played two characters in the classic Doctor Who series. He was in Planet of Evil. He played Ponty, which is a good story. And he played a newscaster in Frontier in Space. And he was in 2 episodes of that. And he was in 2 episodes of Planet of Evil. So he sadly passed away at 81. But then actually the person to be the longest lived actor ever to appear in Doctor Who, he died just yesterday, which was Earl Cameron. He played the spaceman in the 10th Planet. He was one of the astronauts. He was on Zeus 4. So yeah, that's he lived to 102.
Wow.
So there we go. But he appeared in like Thunderball with like Sean Connery. So yeah, and he had very big kind of career. So yeah, it's kind of crazy that 102 longest living. He actually overtook the longest living because the longest living had been Zohra Segal, who died in 2014. So he is one of 4 Doctor Who actors to have reached the age of 100. So there's a little nice tidbit fact. And so he appeared in the first Doctor story, and I've been continuing my Doctor Who watching. I just finished Edge of Destruction, which surprised, like really good. It's kind of like the classic midnight.
I think it's very underrated, to be honest. Like, no, because nobody really talks about it. Because I guess there isn't so much to talk about, but yeah.
I mean, it's literally the TARDIS set. I mean, it would have been the cheapest story to make, probably out of all of them, which probably helped them out a lot, to be honest, because they were way over budget on the first 2 stories.
Oh yeah,
like by a crazy amount. But to be honest, it became an absolute hit by the time that Edge of Destruction was going on TV, so it was probably fine in terms of like budget. But it was it was really cool, just watching the beginning box set again, just seeing the start and how like early days it was, especially, I mean, the Daleks is really well paced.
Oh yeah,
like the first episode, the Dead Planet, is like an episode within itself because it's just like this creepy planet, and what it does is it sets up the whole kind of atmosphere for the rest of the story, just spending this one kind of whole 25 minutes just on like the location that they're in, like the atmosphere, and just setting that up for a whole 25 minutes is like kind of obviously nowadays would be unheard of, but back then you were able to do it.
It happened quite a lot in the first Doctor era, actually. Like, I think most infamously in like the first part of the Space Museum was like an episode onto itself.
Banging, yeah.
The first episode of the Space Museum is actually excellent. The rest of the story not as much. I don't hate it, but it's not quite as solid. But like the first episode of that,
it's some good stuff in it. Like, especially the cliffhanger where they see themselves in like the museum. Like, that was such a sci-fi kind of idea to do, like that there was a time slip and they came off the tracks or something, so they arrived and then they kind of arrived later and like time was catching up with them, like, so they were kind of ghosts in that moment. Like, that's the kind of concept which I'd expect from like New Who. Like, so the fact that they did it
new issue
like since 2005, it's the kind of concept I'd expect kind of from that. Like, it was so good, the Space Museum. But I mean, it's crazy. I watched the documentary with which was On the Edge of Destruction DVD, which was kind of about the beginning. It was kind of an adventure in space and time, but just the actual documentary, not the docudrama. And only up until like, Unearthly Child kind of went out and the Daleks. And it's just amazing, like all their ideas that they had and how they were kind of working it out. Like Susan was, I think, what was she? I can't remember what her first name was originally. But she did go to Suzanne for a bit.
It was Suzanne.
It was something before that.
I saw something on this the other day.
Because it was like McGonagall for like Barbara Wright's character.
There was also another documentary on YouTube about Susan specifically, actually, from
Big Finish.
No. It was what's his name? Clever Dick Films.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah, he did a documentary specifically on Susan.
Oh, that's cool.
I saw it the other day. I should have remembered.
But it's cool that they basically found her. Basically, she was on, I think, another show, and Warren Hussein just saw her kind of and watched her, and he like called up Verity Lambert. Was like, you got to come down. You got to, I mean, you look at the cast, and it's like absolute perfect casting. Like, they all work so well in their roles, and while I think when we were younger, we definitely had a distaste for Susan.
Well,
if we go back to our very second review, Dalek Invasion of Earth.
For that story in particular, although I don't think at that point I had seen like a lot of the other stories. I mean, there was a lot of missed potential there with Susan, but there were other stories where she was considerably stronger than the Daleks Invasion of Earth.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a shame. I watched the Marco Polo kind of half an hour version, which was okay. Like,
it was solid, like for what it's worth.
Trying to get 7 episodes into that amount of time was interesting challenge, I suppose. They kind of did it a bit, like they kind of managed it.
I mean, you get a gist of the story enough.
You get the main kind of idea of the TARDIS is Marco Polo's property now and is going to give it to a king so he can go home, and he's taken the key. That's kind of the way it's gone.
Though when I eventually get around to doing pretty much what Nick's doing, because I do intend to at some point, once I've actually gotten around to watching every single episode at least once, I intend to actually listen to it through this. I got
See, I don't have.
I've got 2 volumes of like the audio. It's just like one long stack of them.
Is that
relatively new? Yeah, this was last year.
Oh crap! I might get that then, because That's new. Yeah, I might get that.
Yeah, I've gotten 2 volumes of it thus far. Although, like, I think there's a third out. I just haven't gotten
Which ones
it
are
yet.
they? So what's on the
So
first one?
in this one, there's Marco Polo, Reign of Terror, The Crusade, Galaxy 4, and the Mythmakers.
Okay, I got.
In this one, you get the Daleks' Master Plan, the Massacre, the Celestial Toymaker, the Savages, and I think there's a documentary in there as well from this one. And then I think the next one starts with like the Patrick Troughton ones.
Ah, that makes sense. Yeah.
It's basically a compilation of like all the previously released like CDs that they used to release individually, just as like a big
There's
pack.
a nice. Yeah, well, they did do. I remember they actually did a box set with that cover, but it was like it just wasn't that. That's a
Yeah,
re-release
there was something. Yeah, I know
that has a new logo.
Yeah, that.
But yeah, it's like, and it's like a shame because I know that Marco Polo is probably going to be one of the last to be ever made. Because, like, you know, they're like budget and the amount of time it takes to.
Yeah, because there's like a huge number of different locations, a lot of different multiple costume changes.
Like, I think they'll do it. It will just be right at the very end when, you know, they can spread a budget of, you know, 2 stories over, like, you know, over one. Probably. Because they'll be like, well, I mean, this is going to sell. It's like the last couple left. Like, they're going to sell, like, or else they wouldn't still be doing the animations. Like, they clearly make a profit on them, you know?
Yeah.
And enough of a profit to be worth the effort to even do, you know, special features and so on, you know?
And special editions.
And special editions! Oh, boy. I kind of need to order that. That comes out August, doesn't it?
I've already got a pre-order in for that, because why not?
Yeah. To be honest, I'm starting to feel that, to be honest. I might as well.
Yeah, you know, it's like I kind of want to continue that basically complete collection. Well, except for, like, as I said, I don't have a lot of new stuff, but like complete classic collection in a way. You know?
Yeah.
Well, most up to date, should I say? Not necessarily complete, since I don't have all the original versions, but I want to keep mine up to date relatively, except for the Blu-rays. But you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's the steelbooks and the Blu-rays, but I mean, like. Do I really want to see an animation in Blu-ray? I don't know. To me, it's like I don't. I mean,
it'd be cleaner, but like I'd rather have that consistency with the rest of my DVD collection over the the actual better quality of it. Plus, the lower quality is probably more fitting for Classic Dot 2 anyway, since like the way I watch these, I want the kind of the most authentic experience anyway. So like even in that lower quality, somewhat helps to have it a foot closer to kind of how the others looked. I guess.
It's like the point of why do they, you know, animate the, you know, the ones which have already been, you know,
I'd imagine that was. I imagine that was perhaps a way of bringing like new audiences to encourage them to watch it, because like maybe like people who don't properly understand the history or the context or such, who just pick it up, might not like fully get it. So like they if it switches back and forth like the other ones would, maybe they just kind of they'd be a bit confused, or maybe they wouldn't be quite as into it, rather than the more consistent, like if it was just animated. Maybe that's the kind of excuse for it. I guess I don't complain too much, because, you know, again, they give you the option to do it either which way. So it's not ultimately that big a deal. It was a little bit confusing, you know, because, of course, again, that'd be a bit of extra money. But, like, if it's for, like, accessibility, then I guess I can kind of see it.
Yeah. Oh, crap. I haven't actually pre-ordered Fury of the Deep yet. Should probably do that.
Actually, I'm not sure if I have either, to be honest.
I think, it's just like waiting until it's actually got... Does it have a release date, or it's just kind of... It's coming? I just find it strange that they're doing Power of the Daleks before even Fury of the Deep, like... It's just a weird concept to me that they, you know...
I guess it just, you know, they could get Power of the Daleks out quicker, I suppose.
I guess so. Yeah, no even release date for it. That's interesting.
The question now, I guess, like just in terms of the like, well, will they ever do like an Underwater Menace special edition with the new animation?
I think they will. I think due to exactly that point.
Considering like they've done like all these Patrick Troughtons, and particularly in that kind of era as well.
That's my other like thing is like there's actually now more DVDs of his first season than his second, which is kind of strange to think. Because
well, it's almost like they started to think about it more like, doing it one after another, like because like we've had like the Macra Terror and Faceless ones, which like like we're starting to like fill in like all those earlier gaps.
Yeah.
Like, I think practically now have like most of his first series now.
Yeah, we have we've got Power. The only ones we're missing is the Highlanders.
Yeah, which I think we're probably going to get at some point, considering like the removed special feature and that they even name dropped it, like as one of the ones they originally considered doing after Power.
Yeah, and then then there would be Underwater Menace Special Edition. That would fill in that gap. Then you've already got the Moon Base. Macra Terror is done. Faceless Ones is done. So it will just be Evil of the Daleks, which would be in time for the 60th, kind of at that rate. But I just want Abominable Snowman, guys.
That would be good. I'd love Abominable Snowman.
I would love that story. I'd also kind of like the Space Pirates. I know it's not like a much talked about one, but just to finish that last season,
I suppose.
It's his penultimate story, one right before the end. So to me, it's,
Yeah, from what I hear, that wasn't particularly great, which is why nobody kind of remembers it.
But also, why are we just focusing on Patrick Troughton at the minute? Like,
well, because that's all they seem to be doing.
The First Doctor ain't getting any love. No, that's what I mean. Like, why? Why
from their
are they?
perspective, yeah.
Why? What's wrong with William Hartnell?
I don't know.
Was it sexist Hartnell? Was it sexist Hartnell from Twice Upon a Time? Have we cancelled the First Doctor? I mean, Celestial Toymaker is a clear wanted one by fans of the classic era. Like,
if we're talking about that, I think there's actually a racial slur in that. So.
Really? Oh, yeah. Yikes.
But I mean, they cut stuff out before, right? They edited some stuff in the Macra Terror and took out like a scene which they found was like they didn't want.
Oh, really? What was?
Something I can't remember exactly what it was. They cut something out though.
I mean, I know they got rid of they had one scene where they got a makeover because that's when Polly's hair actually got cut in that scene. Like, because at the start of the story, she just has short hair, but actually her hair gets cut short during the story.
Yeah, I think that was probably it that I'm thinking of. So they can cut bits out or maybe edit it around it or whatever. So
yeah, just take it out. I mean,
yeah.
I wonder if it was. I'm guessing it was towards the Toymaker then, maybe, or was, I wonder who it was towards.
I don't know. I get a feeling it might have been Cyril. I think was the maybe. I don't know. I don't remember. I know there was something in there.
Interesting. Very interesting. At least the second Doctor didn't do blackface, because I mean...
Jeez, yeah, then we would have lost an entire era.
Yeah, that never would have been made.
Yeah.
God, that would have been such a cringy past. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thankful for the most part that, like...
Doctor Who's past is pretty clean, really.
Ish. I mean, there's a few blemishes. Like in particular for me, the Towns of Wayne Cheyenne is very much like I felt so uncomfortable watching that the first time.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it was.
And I mean, the actual if you look at the earlier stories, the actual depiction of black people in a lot of earlier stories are just usually like servants.
Yeah, right.
So there's a lot of stereotypes, not necessarily like. Again, not as bad as like a lot of its contemporaries necessarily, since in a lot of those cases they are kind of portrayed in a more positive light, but the stereotypes nevertheless there.
Yeah. I mean, Tomb of the Cybermen's obviously a good kind of...
There's Tomb, and there's Enemy of the World as well for that.
But I mean, Toberman dies the hero at the end.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. That kind of somewhat... I wouldn't say balances it out, but slightly. It wasn't an inherently it was a it was a
It wasn't great that he couldn't talk,
stereotype
and he was
that he was there in
uneducated.
the first place. But at the same time, they didn't in both the cases that I mentioned, they were both died heroes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we should acknowledge it, but as you say, it's not. Certainly compared to other shows, it's not quite.
Doesn't need to be cancelled, culture. It was, it was out of that time, and while it's just good to understand that it wasn't, correct. But during that time, that's just what happened, which wasn't good. But it's just about.
In Doctor Who's case, in a lot of instances, it was less that they used a lot of offensive things, and more like they outright just didn't have a lot of people of other races in there to begin with. So it kind of got away in a lot of cases just by not having them, which isn't great. And, that wouldn't really change till the 80s, until even up to Sylvester McCoy, I think, was kind of where we started to see more diversity in Doctor Who.
Cast,
really.
Yeah, it was a very kind of white show.
Yeah, it was.
To put it lightly.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, yeah, but I mean, it's obviously not for these reasons why they haven't been animating the first Doctor.
Yeah,
so I'm just wondering why, It's I get the Crusade, they're so many costume changes, but if you actually just focused all those efforts on just the 2 episodes that are actually missing, rather than trying to do all 4.
It'd be nice. I'd be very happy if we did get it, but
that would complete season 2, which would be awesome.
Indeed.
It's amazing how much of season 2 is literally 2 episodes of Crusades missing, and the rest are we have that's incredible.
It is,
especially when you look at the next season.
Oh yeah. Gosh.
Though it's cool that the Ark survived just because they thought it was the Ark in space.
Yeah.
Bless it for having the same kind of name, basically. Yeah. And some other gunfighters survived. Who'd have thought?
Yeah, it seems like an odd one. That one in particular, since it is just. It's not a particularly noteworthy story in particular.
I mean, it's a nice little nugget of a weird kind of when Doctor Who trying to do something different.
I suppose. But it wouldn't be the first one you'd think of when you think about the ones to be saved, or the ones to be shipped to other countries. Or I don't remember how the gunfighters was recovered, but I would be surprised if it was found overseas.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely, it would have been for sure. Let's see.
I guess it just because of the inherently retro, well, kind of the Western.
I mean, Westerns were very big back in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool. It's the very last one to have individual episode names as well. That's a big thing, isn't it? The last ever, because every episode had a different name, and then from the Savages onwards, it was just part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4.
Yeah.
I wonder why they did change that.
Probably just a lot of effort to individually name everything.
Well, maybe people were more turned off of tuning into a story when they didn't know if it was the very beginning or not. Maybe, I don't know, people found it harder and they couldn't tell when a story was starting or ending, so they didn't know when to jump back on if they missed a story, I wonder if it was something to do with that. I wonder if it was effort.
Yeah.
It would be interesting to see. Apparently, it's the lowest rated William Hartnell story.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, we can't judge it because we haven't seen everything, to be fair.
I've seen the gunfighters. I mean, I know that I'm not a big fan of The Web Planet, to be fair.
I know you're not.
Even though the Zarbi are... So maybe I'll enjoy it this time around. Maybe I was too young when I first watched it, and I watched it again and it was better. I think maybe if I watch it
it's not brilliant or anything, but I don't hate it. But it definitely isn't one of his strongest stories, no.
But I mean, I'm glad that the War Machines exists. That was
yeah, indeed.
That's actually cracking story, isn't it?
So totally different to everything else in William Hartnell's era, really.
It was when like it really started to.
It does feel more like a Patrick Troughton episode than it does a William Hartnell episode.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is when like things were changing. I mean, he started season 4, and they were like, he's just not well enough. So it was.
The only disappointment in that episode is just the treatment of Dodo, really.
Yeah, she just gets freaking kicked off, doesn't he?
Pretty much, yeah.
Ouch, basically. Big ouch.
Just sends a letter. I'm off, bye.
I wonder. See, I'm trying to look up if the Gunfighters was ever found. But no, it seems like it was always in storage for some reason, because it's not saying recovery. It doesn't come up. See, the War Machines was recovered. EPS 134 was Nigeria. EP 2 was Australia. Which is amazing they managed to get all those.
Yeah.
84 and 78 they found those. Yeah.
Okay.
Crazy. Very cool stuff. But like yeah, the Crotons they recovered BFI 1978. Amazing. I mean, I find it incredible that so many like they had to actually recover ones from the Third Doctor era, you know, like
yeah,
they didn't actually have copies of those. Though basically all they got from Canada, apart from Death to the Daleks, they got from United Arab Emirates. So yeah, but most were Canada.
And yeah, and once again, even now, like John Pertwee's stuff is, I mean, like most of it's been colorized by now. Although, like the actual bases which they got, like it's still like some of them only exist in black and white.
Oh.
And some of them haven't even been properly coloured. Like Invasion of the Dinosaurs Part 1 was never properly coloured.
Yeah, it was kind of rough, wasn't it?
It was because the colour data in it, like,
wasn't great.
I don't remember the exact specific, but the colour data, like, for stuff like Planet of the Daleks and the Silurians and such, they had to, like, zoom in, like, because the colour data, the way that the film, the black and white film, actually was more like removing a lot of the color rather than like well, it wasn't like swept over. I don't remember the exact process, but basically for the
information's there, just not enough to
yeah,
make
it was if you zoomed in really, really far, all that information was there. It just, yeah, you just couldn't it just wasn't visible like to the naked eye, and you just need to go through the process of, I mean, it's still kind of painstakingly, but like you had to, yeah, it was easier to recreate the exact colors. I think
nowadays,
Mind of Evil
that was the best
one where they had to actually, like, if I remember right, that one they actually had to do that manually.
Yeah, I think that was the big one
because they didn't have the color data for that. Invasion of the Dinosaurs, I think, would have been similar, although for some reason, even though it was one episode, I think the actual color thing which they have in Invasion of the Dinosaur Part 1 was like, I don't remember why it was like that, to be honest, like why I didn't go through the Mind of Evil process with it, but
maybe it was technology wasn't there yet for them to be able to use.
I think it was after though, wasn't it, for Invasion of the Dinosaurs? But that is one I'd like to, like, if they ever release a Blu-ray of that season, actually, have they already done that one?
For what?
For John Pertwee's last season.
No, I think they did the Day of the Daleks season.
Okay, so yeah, whenever they get to that, like if they do have like a fully colorized Invasion of the Dinosaurs, I will get that Blu-ray.
Well, I think they'd probably release that as a single Blu-ray or DVD. If they did a re-thing of that, I don't think they just.
I'm not sure about that though, because like they have been doing like a lots of like new enhancements and redoings for a lot of these things. Like I think a few of the episodes have like new, you know how in like some of them, like some of the DVDs like Kinder and such, they had like new like CG effects and such.
Oh yeah,
the Blu-rays have been doing that as well.
I think I get like those, but I don't think there's enough market for people who want to actually see updated graphics. While I think they're nice, I don't think there's enough. But if you said, "Oh yeah, we've recolored the whole of Invasion of the Dinosaurs Episode 1, we're going to do a special edition release, like single DVD, as well as it being in this Blu-ray," I think the single DVD would sell very well for the people who don't collect the big ones. But yeah, maybe like they could do, like how they did like that Regeneration box set where you got like the 10th planet like a couple months earlier than everyone else.
Yeah.
Like I think they'll just do something like that.
I mean, that'd be nice. I guess we'll see, but like.
So yeah, it was released in 2013, Mind of Evil. A mixture of hand-colorized keyframes in conjunction with manual and automated color interpolation for episode 1. And the decoding of chroma dot signals recording in the monochrome film for episodes 2 to 6. Oh, so there was some
for Mind of Evil. Okay.
Well,
okay.
Yeah.
Although it seems like only partially, maybe for certain episodes.
I remember I had the VHS for Mind of Evil, and I remember it would cut in between black and white and color, because some episodes they had bits of it in color and other bits they didn't, and it was very strange. I mean,
it was the same for other episodes like the Silurians and Ambassador of Death was a big one as well for being in black and white.
I'm excited to watch that one again. I'm excited to get to that.
Yeah, I really that whole
again.
Season.
It's a very great season.
It really is.
I remember the first time I watched Ambassador of Death, I didn't dig it, but then when I watched it again with a second viewing, and it really does show how important a second viewing is. To just anything to form your opinion, because
I remember you were saying, I really didn't like that episode, and like I watched it for the first time and so like I don't quite know what you're talking about here, Nick.
I think I remember I had a book as a kid which was Demons and something. I can't remember what it was called, but it was like a book of Doctor Who monsters.
Oh, yeah,
so it
but there were
was
two
very
of those. There were like monsters and villains and demons, and I don't remember the other one. There were two kind of compilations of that.
Yeah. And what I loved about that book was it had New Who stuff, which obviously I knew everything about. So I mean, didn't look at that for too long. But then obviously at this point, I didn't really use the internet, and it had, classic monsters in there, and they look freaking sick. That was where I first came across the Destroyer from Battlefield, which is why when I got Battlefield pretty early on when I was buying the DVDs, because I was like, I just want to see this guy. He looks freaking sick. And then, I got the Ambassadors of Death VHS from my uncle, I think, because he'd replaced his with the actual DVD when it came out, and I just watched it, and it just, I don't know, I think I was expecting something else. I think I was expecting kind of Fashta Narada levels of creepy. I mean, like the picture that they had in the book was like, it reaching out with its hands, and I guess my imagination obviously was far more wild than what they could have achieved in, TV in 1970.
So to be fair, they achieved an awful, like considering the amount of budget they spent for that episode, they achieved an awful lot. Like the airplane, the whole the helicopter fight sequence, like that went so ridiculously over budget, but like it's
a bloody cool. But yeah, I was expecting something, I guess, more creepy, creepy lighting and stuff, while TV in those days just had pretty much flat lighting, unless they really kind of constructed a set to have better lighting. But obviously then on my rewatch, I was like, this is freaking sick. What was I on about? Like I remember like the motorbike chase, there's like motorbikes in there, and the whole space thing it's really interesting. The spaceship, it is scary, it is creepy. Like I don't know what First Me was on about. Like when I watched it again, I just couldn't remember any of, maybe I just wasn't in the right headspace the first time I watched it. But but anyway, I'm far from those series yet. I got a lot of way to go through. Next is Keys of Marinus, which I enjoy.
It's alright.
You not so much. But,
it's a bit long-winded, really. I find it, like the Daleks is long, but it doesn't feel as long as it actually is. It feels like it's well paced. I feel like the Keys of Marinus
could have been 4 episodes.
Yeah.
I'll see. Probably by next week's podcast, I'll have watched it. But I mean, I like that the first episode aired on my birthday, though I didn't exist, and my mum didn't even exist yet. So there we go. That's how long ago. But it's cool. I love the first season of Doctor Who. I think for a first series, it's absolutely cracking in it.
It is.
like the variety and kind of just so early days that nothing really mattered. You could do whatever you like, and
it's just interesting to see how things have like changed since then in a lot of ways. Since like a lot of what they did was like very almost reactive. Like they were filming like almost as it was like airing, as opposed to having like everything.
Yeah, I mean,
kind of
Doctor
planned.
Who ran for a whole 10 months pretty much.
Yeah.
Then like I mean, it was awesome. Like started 23rd November. The series finished. I think, was there even a break over Christmas? Not even a break over Christmas. No. So it ran all the way then till 12th of September 1964, and then the next series started October 31st. So literally they had like a month off, and then they started again.
Well, no, they didn't even get like exactly a month off, because of course what they would do is that people would disappear for like an episode or two.
Yeah, they'd disappear for. So I know that.
And then they just have holidays.
Yeah, the Doctor disappears in like the Keys of Marinus, one of those episodes.
But like that happens a lot. Like the companions sometimes disappear.
Yeah. I think Susan disappears for an episode during the Aztecs. She had a holiday. I think during like Warriors of Death or something, because she just goes off, to the bridal area. Hangs out with them.
Or like the Doctor in like Time Meddler is just like asleep for an episode, and that's when he went on holiday.
Yeah, it's kind of funny when you see that. But I mean, it's incredible, Then they start October 31st. I mean, that's only a week holiday, and not gonna lie, a week's holiday, it's not enough for a holiday. So no wonder they were exhausted. Like, this is crazy hard working kind of. Then this next Time Meddler ended 24th of July. Then they were back September 11. They had a bit more of a break, that series. Mm. What a show. Like, how many episodes, Doctor Who ran through the year. Like, that's so freaking awesome.
Mm.
Like, and that's why sometimes I'd wish for like, episodes just to be split up more into like, 25 increments. Because, I don't know, I prefer things that last for longer rather than, 10 weeks and done, that's like a fifth of a year. Like, even if it lasted half a year, it'd just be awesome, like
I mean, I get you.
I mean, it did automatically slowly get short. I mean, 10th of September to
because it was difficult on everybody, I imagine, to keep up that kind of workload to where they have to pretty much be there the whole time and like have to constantly like
and then like from obviously Pertwee, it was about half a year. Which was still a lot. Like, the amount that they filmed was crazy. And you can kind of understand why, like, doctors after 3 years were like, I'm out. Peace.
Yep.
I mean, like, what I find crazy is, the Fifth Doctor era was all, like, 2 episodes a week. So, I don't know. I feel like it always made his era, like, probably go quicker, I guess. Like, because,
in a way,
so many happened in a week. I find it weird that Doctor Who just aired on like Thursdays and Tuesdays. Like, it's just such a weird concept to me.
That was really bizarre. Like, I was talking to because my dad kind of had to stop watching it at that point. He just couldn't catch it at those times. So, like, it was kind of weird for everyone. Like, it does feel like a very bizarre time slot to put Doctor Who on, because who sits down on a Tuesday and goes like, I'm just gonna kick back and
watch some Doctor Who
with the family when you get to school in the morning.
At least the 6th Doctor era got it right and put it back on Saturday, but like definitely didn't help changing it to a school night as well. Like, kids have homework and stuff, and Saturday's just the perfect day. I don't know why they moved it to Sunday. I got if like it was against Strictly, which to start with it was, but now it's not. So
I think the weekend period just kind of is all right.
It's better, but I just prefer it on a Saturday.
If it was on Tuesdays, man, I'd be missing it like every time.
Yeah, because you just you have other things going on in life. But so I'm excited to finish like this series and just kind of flow with what the kind of vibes were at the time. See how it feels, which eras I actually like the most and don't like the most. Because I mean, like most of Tom Baker, I've barely watched. I only watched the Key to Time series once when I got it the first time, and yeah, you know.
I watched through most of that recently, so like I can have a slightly more fresh perspective on that. And it's like, yeah.
We'll carry on. Sorry.
Oh no, it's just like Tom Baker remains pretty consistent, although like certainly there are some episodes where you can tell he, perhaps tries harder than others, but like, yeah, it is just kind of the things kind of get into a bit of a pattern. A bit more like as it goes along.
Yeah, it got into the easy, ticks all the boxes.
I just think that the thing about Tom Baker's here and what makes it seem so much kind of why it gets more stagnant and worse. I think it was just less about him even, like, and more just about like what was going on behind the scenes, to be honest. Because like once Philip Hinchcliffe left, like there was just that drop off, like. And that they never really recovered from. Like the quality of the episodes just like
plummets.
Like not that it wasn't some standouts after that, but like when you think back to Tom Baker's era, you think about like the whole time that Philip Hinchcliffe was in charge of him.
Yeah, if he'd left at kind of the end of Seeds of Doom, I think he would have, hands down had the best era. But it's just, it's about like overstaying your welcome. Do you get what
I don't even, as I said, I don't even think that was a Tom Baker problem necessarily. I just don't think they got anyone good enough to replace Philip.
Oh no, yeah, I don't think. Yeah, had
they had another solid writer, then I would have been a solid overseer for like to continue on. Like I don't think there would have been an issue. It's just they got the wrong people to kind of carry the mantle.
Yeah.
And like Douglas Adams certainly brought like once
fresh
he came in, brought like a very different tone, but like a fresh tone in a way. But it wasn't really enough of a full revamp. And I mean, it led to City of Death, so I'm certainly not like unhappy with that. But
the rest, like Creature from the Pit and Nightmare of Eden and Horns of Nimon, are just all pretty much nothing stories, aren't they? Yeah. And then we don't have Sharda in there. Like, it's kind of.
But Sharda is really solid as well.
Sharda's solid, but obviously it never aired at that time, so it's just kind of ended weekly on Horns of Nimon. Like,
it's just a shame. It's just a shame.
It's just none of like, I look at a lot of his like later series, and actually I just want to restate, I think not Seeds of Doom, where he should have regenerated, probably either after Taniks of Wenchai-Yang, or Invasion of Time at the least, because Horror of Fang Rock is awesome, and Image of Fendal I really enjoy.
Well, as I said, that most of the standout stories come from when Philip Hinchcliffe was in charge.
Exactly.
I mean, that's just the thing.
But after like Key to Time is like, it's okay, Key to Time.
Yeah, well, parts of it, like there are some solid there are some highlights in there, but as a whole, yeah, it's not.
It doesn't really reach the epic proportions that it was trying for.
No, I'm fond of stuff like Stones of Blood.
Stones of Blood was probably the best out of all of them, and was the one I was most interested in, which, funny enough, appeared in my book. So that was.
Yeah, no, I read it as a Target novel first, and I really loved it as that. So.
Yeah, but yeah, far away from that. In the black and white era of Doctor Who, and I'm grooving. I'm loving it. It's the best vibe. I don't know, something about black and white Doctor Who is just so different that it's just awesome. I think it's just like stage play, isn't it? It's stage play Doctor Who.
I mean, pretty much, yeah. Just the way they filmed it pretty much is.
I can't wait to watch the Aztecs again, because baby, I think it's my favourite for William Hartnell at least, for sure. Though there's a lot of season 2 that obviously I enjoy a lot. Time Meadow I've watched quite recently though, so I probably won't enjoy that as much because I just kind of remember it quite well. Not really sure what I'm going to do about series 3 because I don't have audios. I might watch the Galaxy 4 reconstruction.
Yeah, that's worth it. That was really well done.
That's the best reconstruction I think that they did. And then I have the Lost in Time Staff box set, so I might just watch that. I might watch the 2 Crusade episodes.
Yeah. Oh, actually, no, all of the Crusades is in that because they have the two others in audio. They actually have the
cool.
audios in there, in that one.
Okay, maybe I'll listen to the audios as well. So at least I can do all of season 2. For season 4, though, I don't have a lot of them. And at the minute, I just don't particularly want to buy the CDs just yet. But maybe eventually. It's just, like buying the CDs if eventually they're going to be animated. It's like, don't want to spend double. But yeah, there we go. I think that kind of wraps it up for this week. Unless there's anything else news-wise? No?
I guess.
That's it. There we go. Cool. Well, thank you very much for listening, guys. That was us rambling on about...
Pretty much.
Black and white Doctor Who, Marco Polo animation, you name it. We rambled about it. So, we'll be back next week, I guess. Probably even less news. There'll be even less. So
there'll be negative news.
We'll actually lose news. We'll forget stuff. That's what's going to happen. You heard it here first. But you'll probably hear my thoughts on the Keys of Marinus if I manage to finish it in time. Maybe even the Aztecs, because I'll probably smash through that, because that's bloomin' awesome. So yeah, see you next time, guys. Boy.